Believe a month has flown by and we're back together again. I hope you're all right. I hope you're enjoying May. It's gorgeous weather here for spring in the UK. So it's lovely to have you with me again. Am I prepared for this demonstration? Probably not. Am I ever? No. Let's try to be prepared though. It's lovely to have you with me. Hello, hello. So I'm going to do an acrylic demonstration today with some silver birches, because often that's where people struggle the most, and I love painting them. So it's a win-win today. I hope the weather's good where you are, or you've enjoyed your weekend. Can't believe we're halfway through May. And that it's been a month since you were here last. So welcome, and I'll explain what we've got. I'm using different paper today. Normally I'm working on pop art canvas paper, but I've actually run out. So I'm on the Sea White acrylic paper today. It's 360 GSM. It is primed. It doesn't have the same sort of textured surface. Some have sort of a canvas effect surface. This doesn't. It's really quite good. It is primed, but it is still quite absorbent, so I'll have to allow for that. I'm using the Abstract Sennelier acrylic paints on my fancy paper plate palette, and I've got titanium white, Mars black, cerulean blue, cadmium yellow, burnt sienna. So we'll hopefully have something that looks like a silver birch woodland soon, in the next 45 minutes to an hour, which is good. And it's lovely that you're joining me, so thank you very much. I'm not going to be using really fancy brushes or anything. I'm actually using some Pebeo all-round nylon. They come in a pack. They used to be purple. In fact, you can see this is quite old because that's quite loose. They used to be purple, now they're sort of minty green. And you get a pack of 8 brushes for like £11, something like that. So they're really useful. You get an assorted flats and rounds. So I'll be using some of those today, as well as a painting knife. Now, I do have a bit of a bee in my bonnet when people call this a palette knife, because it's not. This is a painting knife. A palette knife is like a cake spatula. It's long and flat and was used to mix colours on a palette. This is a painting knife, and the difference is it looks like a builder's trowel. You get different shaped ends, and it has a crooked neck. And that is so when your knife is on the surface, whatever you're working on, your knuckles aren't dragging on the paper. So this is a painting knife, not a palette knife. In fact, I never use a palette knife because I use a painting knife. So it's just a little bugbear of mine. Words are important. I will be working with it on the palette, so technically it's also a palette knife, but it is a painting knife, not to confuse the issue. So wherever you're watching from in the world, it's lovely to have your company this afternoon for the next 45 minutes to an hour-ish, because I've got an art class to set up for this evening. I'm doing a gouache class tonight, and we're doing a bluebell woodland, because they're still just about around here. They came out very early here in the UK. I've got nettle and peppermint tea, so that'll keep me going. And we can crack on. So I'm going to start with a flat brush. It's just nylon. It's quite old. Look, you can see I don't look after my brushes very well. That was brush at one point. Now it's stiff paint. Hello. Hello, Becca B. How are you? Thank you for watching. So I should look after them a bit more, which is why I don't buy expensive brushes for acrylics, because I know I'm very naughty. I don't leave them standing in water or anything, but I may not clean them very well. But over time, anyway, I've had this for a couple of years. acrylics will lodge in the base of the ferrule and slowly build up, causing you basically just to have a stick, which is not good for anyone, is it? So I'm going to wet this. Now, when I work with acrylics, I work with a damp brush. I don't use any medium. I just use acrylic paint and water. I've been working with acrylics for a very long time. Oh, goodness me. How long have I been working with acrylics? Since probably before quite a lot of you were born, which makes me feel very old because in my head I'm not. But I was working in acrylics, since 1996, 1997, something like that. And I used to be Dale Rowney's acrylic demonstrator for a brief while for the UK. So I'm going to burp my brush. So I'm stabbing it in the bottom of the water jar, and this is just to get all of the bristles wet. It's nothing exciting, but it is really important. And then I'm going to wipe off excess water. I don't want I'm not painting in watercolour, but I do need a damp brush. Then I'm going to scoop up a nice dollop of white. Look at that. Titanium white. I've got brushes and things all over the place, and I'm just going to plop it on the sky. Now what I don't want is for this white to dry before I do the sky, so I'm just going to quickly get that on. If it feels sticky, you dip the tip of your corner or the corner of your brush into some water, but I'm not cleaning my brush, going into a little bit of cerulean. The white that's on the canvas paper, or the surface, and the white that's on my brush will help. So I'll do a few blobs like that. Doing it this way excuse me, helps distribute the paint more evenly, so I don't get sort of weird stripes across the sky where I don't want them. And it does start to look like there's some clouds. I need to bend my palette back a fraction more. Put it in the way. Corner of the brush in the water because I don't want it runny. And I'll just finish off going left to right just to neaten it up a little. I want a little bit more white down here. So my brush is damp, not soaked. You can use medium to like slow drying gel or something like that. However, it very much depends on the weather, and it also depends on the surface that you're working on. The surface I'm working on is quite open, so it wouldn't have any effect at all. Yeah, Bob Ross used to do things like that, but he worked in oils, and these aren't oils. So oils, you get far more working time. You get weeks with oils, you get minutes with acrylics, so it's very different at all. You can paint in a Bob Ross style. In fact, when I first started painting, I painted in oils, and the art shop I worked at when I was 17, Bob Ross was just on the TV here in the UK. He'd already passed away, but his TV show was just taken off, but you couldn't buy any Bob Ross products, so I worked out how to use oil paints, traditional oils, in his style, so I could help customers out. And then I translated that into acrylics because other people wanted to try it. Is it from the water that made the paint like that? Made the paint like what, sorry? I love Bob Ross, Sarah, as well. I discovered him when I was about 14, 15. In the mid-90s. So I've got a bit of sky there. I'm going to give my brush a clean, because I'm not going to use it for a while, and I don't want my paint to go solid because it's quite warm today. So I'm just going to stab the brush and twist it in the bottom of the jar. These are Nutella jars, and they're brilliant because they're very wide open top, but they've got a heavy base, so you can get some big brushes in here and you can really clean your brushes well. Paint smoothly with no lines. Sort of. The acrylics I use aren't runny, look. They don't fall off the paint. They're quite thick. They're the Sennelier Abstract ones. But having a damp brush gives you a nice uniform colour. There's no texture. Oh, Ange, thank you very much. It's very nice of you. We're going to do a few clouds now, and if you are Bob Ross lovers, you'll notice now my end's falling off, so that's going to be a bit tricky, but never mind. I'm going to just dampen my brush a little, and I'm going to go into some titanium white. Now, when I'm doing clouds, I use a flat brush rather than a round brush. Now, the reason for that, happy little clouds there, absolutely, is that if I'm doing a cloud with a round brush, you get the point showing. Whereas with a flat brush, if I use it on its side, you get a curve, which makes a massive difference. So these are acrylics that I'm working on, and you can see this is practically dry already. I'm going to move those brushes out of the way because they're annoying me a little bit. So I'm going to use the brush on its side. I'm going to have to hold it lower down than I normally would because, as I say, the ferrule is very loose. And I'm working in small circular motions. So the paint, I want the paint to deliberately run out. You can hear I am working quite heavily with this, and clouds are a really good way to cover up any areas of your sky that went wrong. Just a little aside. So because it's faded down into the sky, oh, and you're too kind, thank you. Bob Ross has got a far more calming voice than my black country accent. But letting that colour fade away has allowed me to build up layers of clouds. And you can keep doing this. But when you're doing skies, I know I'm going to put a back of trees along the back end there, so I don't want to do too much. Let's cover that bit up. I know I'm doing a quick thing, but I've got my pride. Happy little accident is true. See, because I'm quite old now, Tony Hart, who was an amazing TV artist when I was a child and teenager, was my immediate inspiration for being an art teacher, actually. I absolutely loved watching him. He was just so versatile and so calming. And then in my mid to late teens, Bob Ross came on the TV, and he was exactly the same as Tony Hart, just calming and encouraging, not condescending, but he made it feel like anything was possible and it was okay. And that's how I've spent my whole career, actually, trying to emulate these guys, because they were just really lovely. So what I'm doing is I'm actually getting a little bit thinner and lower. Drawing is important, but it is down to practice, Sarah. It's one of those things. We've got loads of free tutorials on our YouTube channel. Becca B, thank you very much. I'm not ancient. How old am I? I'm 46. I'll be 47 later on this year. So I'm aware to some people that is ancient, but I only feel in my head like I'm still 21. Gosh, I wish I was. My knees wish I was. Right. So we've got a sky. We're going to cover a lot of this up anyway, but I like to put it here regardless. Oh, yes, I did, Sarah. I did watch it. And because we're an art shop as well, it's a reason why we won't sell any Bob Ross products. Because I don't agree with the way he was treated. So, yeah, we don't sell Bob Ross products in our shop. If it is Bob Ross products, it's slightly, they're not the paints or anything. I think we had some Bob Ross colouring in books, but they weren't made by Bob Ross Inc. That was my stipulation. Oh, thank you, Ange. Oh, I'm definitely not. Thank you, Becca B. You can come again. Thank you very much. It's very kind of you. Right, I'm going to give that brush a bit of a clean. and a wipe. So you can see we've got a decent background sky already. So that's just cerulean blue and white. I haven't done anything, but the clouds have got texture and depth because you can see the blue coming through. Yeah, it's all right so far, isn't it? And I know, well, do you know, it doesn't really matter. If you can't draw stick men, you can probably draw a tree. We've got so many simple tutorials and reels on, what they're called, shorts, aren't they, on YouTube? Take a look with the Artery Online, all one word, the Artery Online, on our YouTube channel. We've got some full-length videos as well, 45-minute demonstrations. I've got one 10-minute video I did about 12 years ago on drawing techniques, which you might find really useful. And it is just practice, because if you never do it, you'll never get any better. Whereas even if you do it and it's quite bad, it will always improve, because at least you're making a start. I shared a quote on our Facebook or Instagram page the other day by Van Gogh, where it says, I keep doing something I can't do in order to be able to do it. So you first have to actually start. If you don't start, you'll never improve. Right, I'm going back to my big 1-inch brush. I've wiped it off a little bit because it got too wet because I was giving it a clean. And we're going to have some background trees and bushes. So I definitely want to make it a bit more stabby. It's true, when you're learning anything, there is a day when you have a eureka moment. That's true, T-Zoot. Sometimes it takes a lot longer to get certain things, and other times, I tell you what, I found since I've been, because I've been teaching art now for over 25 years. I did start when I was a teenager. That when I'm thinking of ways to teach a technique, I come up with a way and I think, oh, you know what, I wish I was taught that when I was learning, because it's so much easier than the way I was shown or not shown. Often I've had to muddle through my own way. So I'm going to go with some cadmium yellow. You can see the paint's quite thick here. My brush is damp, but it doesn't really matter about brush dryness at this moment. The cerulean blue by Sennelier is actually quite punchy, so I don't want too much to start with. Can you see how strong that is? Now, you'll notice I've not got the primary colours. I've only got 2 of them. Burnt sienna is a dark orangey red, so that becomes my 3rd primary. Because if I want to dull down that green, I can just add a tiny bit of brown and it will make a sap green. So we'll give ourselves a little bit of a horizon. Let's undulate it a little bit because it's going to be a forest. And then I'm stabbing. I have no idea what this is going to look like. I've got well, I kind of have a thought, but it will change, especially if some of you ask questions and I can tweak it within the realms. I'm just off camera, just mixing a bit more because I didn't make enough. Now, we have a saying in our classes, if it goes wrong or if in doubt, shove a tree or bush in front of it. And that makes a massive difference. Takes the pressure off. If it goes wrong, just shove a bush in front of it. And I'm sure that's what the artists of old used to do. So whenever I'm studying art history or lecturing in it, and I see a painting with a bush or a tree up somewhere where it looks a little bit like it necessarily shouldn't be, I think, probably went wrong. Now, I'm going to have the light from the right, because it rhymes. So I can go with a little bit more yellow on the same brush. Now, what I might do is just make a bit of a darker green with a bit of black inside. I'm not a purist. To me, black is one of the oldest colours known to art, so I'm all for it. a little bit darker down here. You don't have to make those sound effects. Sorry, I forgot I was live for a second. Yeah, it's by splaying your bristles. If you look at the end of this flat brush, you won't ruin your brush. Thank you, Becky Valentine, 24. Thank you, T-Zoot. You won't ruin your brush because you're going to clean it afterwards, aren't you? Yes. So as long as you clean your brush, I'll show you, because I've got to sort of do it anyway, because I'm only using a couple of brushes today if I can, just to make life a little bit more exciting. So if I give my brush a clean, I never throw my old brushes away either though, because the mankier they get, the older they get with acrylics, the more splayed the bristles get, and they're perfect for foliage. But hang on, let me just give this a bit of a squeeze. There we go, look, I've cleaned my brush and I've got a lovely chisel edge now. So as long as you look after your brushes, you're all right, you know? Thank you so much for sharing the live, it's really kind of you. We're quite, well, we're not new on TikTok. We've been on TikTok for 6 years, more than that. But I haven't really, I post a bit, but we've only started doing lives this year. So I'm quite new to all of this kind of thing. I did a Wallace and Gromit thing with my hand, and I don't know what I did. Right, I'm going to make a pale grey. I've got a rigger brush, which is a long, thin liner brush. Thank you, T-Suit. It's very simple. A lot of it is, I'm not into gatekeeping at all, and I want everyone to feel that painting is accessible. And if I can make it as simple as I can, even better. So this is a rigger brush. You might sometimes find a liner brush, which is a little bit shorter. So you can see there the full length of those bristles. This is a nylon rigger. Called a rigger because it was a good way. It holds a lot of paint if it's dilute. And you could do the old ship paintings. You could get from the top of the mast down to the hull of the boat in one go. Whereas a fine detail brush, you have to keep dipping it in the paint, doing a bit, dipping in, do a bit. So you don't have that continuity. So I'm going to mix a little bit of burnt sienna and titanium white on my palette. And I want you to see just how runny I'm making this. Because I'm going to do silver birch forests. So we're going to have sort of pale, creamy grey trees in the distance to set the scene. I'm going to be here till about 6:15, I think. I forgot what time I was supposed to start the demo, to be honest. I think I start at 5:30 normally, but I got confused, so I started a bit earlier. So I'm doing sort of broken lines, which feel like there are bushes and trees and branches in front. I might do some darker ones, but the crucial thing is to not keep going into the paint all the time, because you want the paint, if you let the paint run out naturally, you can utilize that and really get some interesting effects. Because if this runs out and I want this to look further away, I can create some really fine thin trees in the background, and I can recharge the brush, and I've got some heavier trees in front. Brushes are really interesting. Take a look at a few of the videos that we've got here on YouTube, short ones, and I do an explanation of what you can do with the brush. I've done 2 so far. What can you do with a round brush and what can you do with a flat brush, and it shows all the different marks you can make with the brushes to get used to it. But also it's really fascinating because there are certain brushes that you'll only see for oils. So an oil brush tends to be a longer handled brush. Thank you, Scott Slassy. And a longer handled brush, because generally if you imagine the canvas here, an artist will stand further back because you paint more loosely with acrylics, with oils, so the handles are longer. With watercolour, because you paint closer, the handles are shorter. And you get some acrylics that are longer handled and some acrylics are short handled. So it just depends how you work. First time watching, well, thank you very much for watching. It's a shame that our TikTok doesn't keep the live stream. But I am live streaming on YouTube as well. Hello to you on YouTube. On our YouTube channel, The Archery Online, all one word. And that stays on there forever. So you'll be able to see this same demo on YouTube forever. So when it goes off TikTok, it disappears. I only discovered that a couple of months ago because I've only been... This is my 3rd or 4th live. I can only do it once a month because... we run an art shop here in Oxfordshire, UK, and I teach 40 classes a month. So it's a little bit busy, and I'm also a singer. So I've got a lot of evenings where I'm either teaching or singing or sometimes resting. So I'm only here once a month. Generally, it's sort of like the 3rd Monday of the month. Oh, thank you, Cheesy. Magic watching you do this. Such simple strokes. Do you know, the hardest thing is knowing when to stop, isn't it? Now, in a class situation, it's when the class finishes. I'll say, right, that's it, because we do step-by-step classes here, and working from the same reference. So when I finish teaching, that's when the class finishes. Some students do fiddle a little bit afterwards. But I've got a character I invented. It's a snake. It's called the adder, the just adder, Latin Crapius artius, and he likes to work and eat and destroy overworked artwork, because when you're working on a painting and you hear the phrase or you hear yourself say, "I'll just adder," you end up calling that snake over and he will destroy your work. So when you get to the point where you're finished, you think you're finished, and you go, "I'll just adder," don't. Put your brush down, walk away, come back another day, because it's the best way you can do that. You can look at it with fresh eyes in a day or 2 or a week, and you'll see things in a different way. Becca Bing, I've always drawn with the outline. It's interesting to see how to paint. Well, yeah, I haven't drawn anything, if you notice. If I do draw things, it will be more for buildings or something more technical. But in a general landscape like this, I won't draw, because it gives me a little bit more freedom. Right, I'm going to block in the foreground a little. I've cleaned that brush again, so I'll use it again. Why not? So now it's a little bit scary because I'm going to mix. Not scary for me. I know what I'm doing. It's a bit of black and a bit of burnt sienna to make a dark brown. It will look black on screen. And then I'm making those noises again. It does help, I promise. Right, so damp brush. So you can see with a damp brush, you can cover quite a large area, not a wet brush, because it doesn't dilute the pigment. A damp brush just helps the pigment move. I'm going to go a little bit. Jojo, first timer, welcome. Thank you for joining in and watching us. I'm going to put a little bit more black down the bottom, just so it's a little bit darker. Do you know, I'm going to challenge myself, and I'm only going to use these 2 brushes, the rigger brush and the knife. That's it. All right, that's my challenge. Give that brush a clean. Now, in acrylics, I do not change my water jar. I'm too lazy. For the whole painting, my water jar is absolutely filthy. But as I progress, I don't really mind. I'll show you a technique. I did a video on it quite a long time ago now, so it's probably about 700 videos back. But basically with acrylics, I'm not sort of like overly environmental, but I am always aware of how many microplastics are going to be in my water. Oh, you don't have the gear, Tizu. That's a shame. You could just use a biro and a bit of scrap paper. Acrylic pigment is heavy, so it will sink to the bottom of your jar. So if you want clean water, if you haven't been painting for 5-10 minutes, you can literally just go into the top part of your water jar, the top half a centimetre, and then that will give you clean water. Oh, do you know what? Let me show you on my palette. It's a paper plate, so it's going to go slightly darker. So if I, hang on, how can I do this? I'm going to stick that there. If I just go into that top section of paint water, so I'm not stirring up the pigment and the sludge. Look at that, not dirty at all. Clean water. And that saves you having to constantly throw plastic, which acrylic is, down the sink. If you are more concerned environmentally, you can buy coffee filters and place that in the plug hole and then tip your water into that, and that will catch more of the pigment particles in there. So that's just a little tip for you. It's not always practical. In a class when I've got like 20 or 30 students, we've got 20 or 30 jars of acrylic, so it's really not practical. But where I can, I try to be more environmentally understanding, because acrylic is just plastic based paint. It's a plastic polymer suspended in plastic binding. Right, so I'm going to go with my smaller flat brush now, which I helped do with the clouds, the one with the wonky end look. And I'm going to put a bit of a pathway in. So again, I'm just going to dampen my brush, go into some burnt sienna and a little bit of cadmium yellow. Start making it look a little bit sandy. I could use other colours. I could use yellow ochre, but I just want to use a limited palette today. Or if you've got sketching stuff, T-Zip, just crack open the pencils and do a bit of sketching. That will help you with the mood. But you can get, our most basic acrylic set is about £7.50 for 12 tubes, small tubes. Right, now let's start putting in a bit of a pathway. So this is dry now, already. Now, for those of you who've been watching since the beginning, where did I say my light was going from? The right. Was it light from the right because it rhymes? Or it could be light from the left because they both start with an L. If it's light from the right, we'll make it that way. I'll add a little bit more white to, well, not more white, some white to the path colour. And if the light's coming from that way, thank you, Becca B, this side of the pathway is going to be lighter. Now, be careful when you're working like this. I'm doing it in little striations so it feels undulating and natural. But it can look like steps or sort of like some sort of weird carrot. Maybe a little bit more yellow. Get a bit of a glow. Maybe lighter at the back. Right, got a bit of a pathway in there. You can buy from our website. I know people are recommending other brands, but since I'm an art shop, an independent British art shop, I'm obviously going to plug myself more than other brands and large chains. Right, so I've got my flat brush again, and I'm going to do some grass. I have to put the grass on before the trees because otherwise it's going to get very, very tricky, and I've got about 25 minutes. So I know it's a silver birch forest, but we will put some silver birches on, I promise. Right, I want a mid-green first, so that's going to be cad yellow, ultramarine, no, cerulean blue, and I'm going to go with a little bit of burnt sienna in there just to make a duller green. Cerulean and cad yellow make a really nice spring summer green, but sometimes, depending on cerulean, it can be a little bit punchy. So we're stabbing again, and I'm going to just tap lightly. Now, I could use a different brush, but again, I said I'm only going to challenge myself to a few. So what you don't want to do, because all your paint is sitting at the base of the ferrule there, is if you keep stabbing too hard, and as your paint runs out you stab even harder, the problem is you're going to end up bending your bristles and getting a very harsh blob of paint. So you're best off just renewing the brush in the paint whenever you need to, and that'll make life so much easier for you. But what you want to do is, when you're painting, is just twist the brush a little, rock it between your finger and thumb, and what that will do is it will stop it from looking printed, like you've got the same shape over and over again. Becca's Chronicles, thank you so much. Oh, the shimmering watercolours, they're lovely, aren't they, those, the Artway ones. Thank you so much. We're only a small independent art shop, but we do have quite a lot of art supplies, and what we haven't got on our online shop is probably because I haven't got round to putting them online yet, because we've got a shop full. But check out our website and our online shop, it would be really lovely to support small independent businesses. Oh, this grass is this brush is just a 1-inch flat brush that I've stabbed like that. Basically, it might be, if it's turning into mush, your brush is probably too wet, or you've got I literally only have a damp brush. There's no medium or anything on this. It is literally just paint and a tiny bit of moisture. Do I do watercolour lives too, Jojo? Yes. I try to do a monthly demo, and I cover a different medium each month. The next one will be in June. Let me see what it might be. Oh, Summer Tree Techniques in Watercolour. So I think it'll be the third Monday in June between 5:15 and 5:30 UK time. So I'm doing summer trees in watercolour. So make sure you give us a follow. I'm going to add a bit more yellow to the green mix, because I want to highlight, and the light's coming from the right, so I haven't added any more water. I'll have a slightly lighter background, but by being quite light-handed with it, it creates that lovely velvet. This is already practically dry, look. Which I actually like that with acrylics, but sometimes I wish they dried slower, which is why I use water mixable oils when I want that feeling and I want to work a little bit more. I'll use water mixable oils. In fact, Sea White, who this is the paper I'm using, they've brought out a new range of water mixable oils which are really good, and they're much more affordable than some of the other higher end brands, and they're great quality as well. And they do, we sell their acrylic sets. That's the one I was on about. £7.10 for 12 tubes, 12 small tubes, so the size of my finger kind of thing. I don't want to get carried away with this, but we are going to put some trees on. So you can see we've kind of got the light hitting the pathway. Oh, thank you, Jojo. Yeah, quite dry. Well, yeah, Becca's Chronicles. Water-soluble oils have been around for, gosh, 20, 30 years. They first came out with Winsor & Newton doing Artisan, which is still around. Dale Arowney now do a Georgian version. I think Cobra is another brand, and as I say, Sea White do them. I tend to just, you can buy water-soluble medium for those as well, or you can just use water to clean up your brushes. I use soapy water to clean the brushes, and it works really, really well. And it does mean no smell. So if you've got COPD or asthma, or you're working in a very small, poorly ventilated space, it's much, much safer and easier on your breathing. I think as well it might mean you can also take them on an aeroplane. Do you think the type of paper you use is a big part in struggling to do the grass well? What paper do you use, Kaz? Basically, what you want is for each layer of grass to dry in between, and your brush is just damp with paint straight from the tube. So you can see there, my finger, it's got paint on it, but it's not wet. It's drying quite quickly, because the sloppier you have your brush and your paint, the longer it's going to take to dry. So when you're layering in this sort of way, it's going to pick up the colour that's underneath and cause issues. You won't have as much refined brushwork. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stroke my brush a little bit that way, so I can get a finer line just for the back. A bit too yellow, but don't matter. It's not going in the tater or anything. Right, I'm going to give my brush a clean, because we'll do some trees now in the next, what, 20 minutes? Ooh. So again, cleaning my brush by putting it right in the bottom of my jar, giving it a twist. How long does water-soluble oil take to fully dry? Is it faster? Yes, it actually is quite interesting, and it will depend on how thickly you paint it, but generally a water mixable oil, because this is acrylics, don't forget, I don't want to confuse you, these are acrylics, but this is a water mixable oil I did as a lesson. When did I do that? A couple of weeks ago. I'm just having a look at my program because I can't remember. 2nd of May. So this is over 2 weeks, and even the thicker pieces are dry. So it does take a long time to dry, compared to, like, this is dry. This grass that I put on, already dry. In water mixable oils, you get about 2 to 3 weeks of work, as opposed to acrylics. But with traditional oils, you'll get 2 to 3 months, unless you're using a lot of thinners to dilute the paint. But again, this is almost straight. You can see the texture there on this. So it does dry slower than acrylics, but faster than traditional oils. Oh, you should give it a go, Jojo. Why not? Right, now I've cleaned my flat brush. So I'm such a chatterer. I can't stay forever tonight. So I'm going to go with brown, burnt sienna, and black. Now, I am making this paint more fluid because I need the fluidity. And I'm making a dark brown. You could use burnt umber at this point, but I'm only using this colour palette for this painting. When you reduce your colour palette, you get far more harmony, because all of the colours are related to each other, so it looks more pleasing to the eye. Whereas if you throw in random colours and it's not related and it's not mixed anywhere else, it can often look a little bit weird and fake. So what I'm doing here is I'm stroking the brush downwards, flipping it over and stroking the brush downwards again. Now I've got a nice solid wedge of paint and I've got quite a thin line here. So I'm going to put some big old trees in first, so I can press down really hard. Now when you're working with doing the birches the way that I'm going to do, they grow exponentially anyway. But right, let's go back in, stroke it down, flip it over, stroke it down. Have another one there. Now, can you see I've got broken lines either side? Now, what that means is my paint isn't fluid enough, so it's breaking on the surface of the paint as I'm coming down. So if I add just a little bit more water, it'll give me a straighter edge. Now, I don't want that to come down as far. Give it a little bit of root. Now, I know how to do these trees, so it's not a shock to me what's going to happen, but it might be to you, I don't know. Right, so I'll do another thinner silver. Same brush look, I'm just using less pressure. So this is the brush I've done everything else on. Stroke it down, flip it over, stroke it down. Rebecca, thank you very much. Very helpful. I'm glad you think it's helpful. I'm very pleased. Now, if I'd drawn all of this beforehand, it would have caused a lot of issue, because I might have done a really nice cloud over where I've got to put my tree. But this way, I've got more freedom. I can shove things wherever I want. Oh, thank you for the rose. I don't really know what that means because it's new to me, these live things. This is only my third or fourth. Do you know what it is? It's an evening of Becca's Rebecca's tonight. 1, 2, 3, 4. I need an odd number. Right, let's stick another one in. Something like that. That'll do, won't it? Right, now, give my brush a clean. Again, twist and stab. Sammy Crochet Magic, just learning to paint. Do you normally do crochet? That's a guess. Well, thank you for finding us. Oh, some of the comments in this live were filtered to protect the community. Oh, some of you being naughty. Don't be naughty. Or are you being mean about my painting? I really don't care, so it doesn't really matter. TikTok seems to be filtering your comments. To give you a better experience, apparently, but now I'm intrigued. Thank you, the JPM2468. Bit of a giveaway. Well, just to guess, I'm very good at picking up on subtle hints like that. Sammy. What are you learning to paint in? This is acrylics tonight, but we have got lots of TikToks, helpful hints and tips on pastels, gouache, watercolours, drawing and all manner of things. Oh, acrylic, perfect. Right, I'm giving my brush a clean. I'm just going to give it a bit of a wipe. Oh, I'm intrigued about the naughty comments that TikTok's decided to filter. I shouldn't be really, should I? I should just be grateful that... Oh, Ange, you'll be surprised. People do have a lot of reasons. We've got quite a big following on Facebook. I'd love to get 10,000 followers on here on TikTok, because it would really help us, because we are a very small business. Yes, we are a shop and we teach classes, but we're not sort of raking in the cash. So having the ability to be monetized on our social media makes a huge difference to us, and it helps us do free demos like this. So we've got a a YouTube channel, Instagram, Facebook, all of those kind of things. I get trolls on all sorts of. I had, you know, a hangnail where you get a little bit of skin on your thumb, because I work with my hands all the time, where it just peels away. I did a video about 3 years ago on a drawing technique, and the amount of abuse I got from people because they couldn't get past the little bit of skin on my thumb, it was quite hilarious. I read all of the comments on all of our social media things, because there's only me and I've got Jackie who works with me part-time. So I read everything. So you can't get away with it. It happens when you use your hands all the time. It just, you do get bits of skin. It's just part of life. Right, now, I'm done with my brushes for now. I'm going to show you some silver birch bark. I've got 10 minutes. Can I do this? Yes. Right, I'm going to do a mid-tone. So I'm going to mix some cerulean with my painting knife, not palette knife, and some burnt sienna, and that will give me a greeny grey. Now, silver birches are different wherever you are in the world. Some have beautiful, there are so many different varieties. Some have beautiful white bark, some have sort of peachy bark, which is beautiful. Now I need to make sure I'm going to mix up enough to get me through the next 10 minutes. Right. Can you remember which side is the light? The light is coming from the right. So I'm going to put a little bit of white in here just so I can test the colour, because this is the shaded side of the tree. So I want a blue-grey. I don't need to mix it up thoroughly. Oh, thank you for the heart. Oh, I can't read a name because I've got my phone right across my face, but it says very beautiful watching you paint. Thank you very much. That's so kind. Now, the light is coming from the right, so the left side of the tree is going to need some shading. So I'm going to have the knife like that and bring the tree there. So that means I need to cut into, away from myself, and I get a thick line of paint on the knife. I'll do this big tree first so you can see what I'm doing. So I'll line it up and very lightly move in a curved direction, and that curve helps the tree look more round and three-dimensional. Now what you want to remember is that the knife is an aid to move the paint. We're not buttering toast. So I've got that on there. I wouldn't normally do one tree at a time, but I want to show you that the lighter side is basically just white, and I'm going to work in the opposite direction. So I'm going to just put a little bit of white down there with the edge of my knife and curve over the top. Now I want the paint to break and give me a lighter side and a darker side, and I don't mind if some of the brown that we put on either melts in or shows through. But you see, I've just flicked with my knife there, and that's made my tree get wide. Oh, it means a lot to me that people are watching what I do, because it's just little old me. So thank you for your company the last near hour. I might end up going over an hour because I want to get this done. Now I've started it, it'd be rude to just stop, wouldn't it? Can you see how that... Oh, Kaz, thank you. So cool. It's clever, isn't it? But if you notice, you couldn't hear scraping. Your you're using, these are Sennelier Abstract Acrylics I'm using for today. Basically, you're not scraping, you're just delicately guiding the paint with your knife. And that means you can do a few thin ones. I'm gonna have to sort of, I will speed up a little. I'll put all the darks in now. But always paint the brown bit that we've done thinner than you need, because when you're setting your tree up in this way, it does get very wide. Can you see there? Look, I've already gone over my line, and I've been doing this for a while. But birch bark does peel off. That's how I'm gonna say it. So this is thicker. My knife isn't wet. It's going straight into a thick dollop of paint. So while I'm painting at the moment, I can't see any comments, so I will try and catch up in a second. For those of you on TikTok, oh, thank you, Penny. Thank you, Sammy Crochet Magic. As I've said when I started, if you've not long joined us, TikTok doesn't keep these live videos, so you'll lose this demonstration. But if you go over on our YouTube channel, you are able to watch the same demonstration, because I'm streaming from 2 cameras. So it's a sort of identical view almost. On TikTok, the video is slightly to the image is slightly to the right. On YouTube, the image is slightly to the left. So with the Archery Online, all one word, all lowercase, and you'll see all of our stuff on there. Obviously, like and subscribe on here, because I post a TikTok every single day on all aspects of drawing and painting in all media, and art history, and on art mental health, which is very important. Right, give that a little bit of a wipe, go into the white. Now I might have to stand up to do this from an angle, because it's on the other side of the paper. Fan in the fan club. What's this? Your fan club has completed the first stage club request. I don't know what that means, but thank you very much. It's very kind of you. I feel like a right old dinosaur. I thought I was quite up on this, but it's so different doing a live to just posting a video. So you want to keep it in a curved way. Ooh. And let it marble. If you listen, there's hardly any noise coming from my knife. Back into the white. Oh, this evening students will understand if I'm not fully prepared for them. I'm enjoying talking to you all. So if we can get my TikTok to 10,000 followers, that'll be amazing. Apparently you can join the creator program or something, and I can earn money from my TikTok videos and my lives, apparently. I don't really understand. But it's always been my mission. My whole aim in life since I was a child has been to teach art and to make art accessible for everyone who wants to learn how to paint and draw. Oh, you heard a bit of noise there, didn't you? That's because my tree has got to go much wider than I've painted it. Otherwise it'll look like it's falling down. So effective, isn't it? Popular vote. Thank you, Rebecca. I don't know what that means, but thank you. What's the... Your fans reminded you to set the Heart Mia's live goal challenge and get rewards. I don't know what that means. I'll try and do it later. Can I do that now? I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. goodness. Is there a button I have to press? Level up your live. Oh gosh, I've got to go live for 240 minutes over 4 days. That's interesting. Oh, thank you, Kaz. It is simple, so effective, but also I am aware I make it look easier than it possibly is for when you're first learning. I've been doing these trees since I was 14. You can do this in oil and you can do it in gouache. But just be aware it does take up a lot more paint in gouache because you need it quite thick to work. Something like that. Well, apparently, concept-wise, it's very simple. Well, when you think for this whole picture so far, well, I'm nearly done. I've used a painting knife. This is a Daler Rowney one of the smaller ones. I like the more angled trowel-like ones. A 1 inch flat, a 1/2 inch flat, and a rigger brush that's probably a number 1. The numbers have all worn off because I've got them that are quite old. So I've done the whole painting with this. That's it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to a dark brown just to put a few thinner branches on some of these trees because they do cascade. I've got runny paint. Now, when I'm working with the rigger, look, I make it, there's burnt sienna and black there, roll the brush around in the runny paint, and that keeps the fine point of your brush. I'm going to put a few shadows on as well because it makes a big difference. Especially now we know where the light is coming from. You could, if you really did mess up, you could use Jaden Connors. It looks really nice. Use it for, it's for you. I've just done this as a demonstration today, so I started it at 5:15, and I've nearly finished. So it's just for you people on TikTok and YouTube to appreciate and learn how to work with acrylics. This is acrylic paint. I'm using Sennelier Abstract Acrylics. I forgot what I was going to say now. Oh yeah, if you do mess up and you want some darker patches in, you can just use the same colour just to put a little mark in, and that's often where the branch nodules start from. So, you know, now I need to put some shadows on this because we've got light and dark. Oh, Kaz, yeah, do. So the Archery Online, all one word, on YouTube, and you'll find this and loads of others. I've been doing a demo on YouTube monthly for about 8 years, maybe. I don't know, I lose track of time. Something like that. We are on Facebook and Instagram as well as the Archery Art Shop. You can find us on there. But basically, I share the same videos on all of them. I do a few more live streams and things on YouTube. But I'll do more on what am I on? TikTok now, I promise. Right, I'm going to cheat with the shadow, and I'm just going to use runny black. If I wanted to sort of warm it up a little bit or change it, I could do a grey. Oh, I've got to drag a puzzle piece into place. Oh, I'm back. I've had to drag a puzzle piece in place to keep my live stream going. That's new. I could mix cerulean blue and burnt sienna together, but I'll mix a bit of blue and black to make a greyish blue. And I'm going to add a lot of water. Now, I'm making a transparent glaze. There are people out there that will say you shouldn't add too much water with acrylics, but Golden, the acrylic manufacturers, have done numerous studies and found that you can mix about 70% of water to paint ratio, and it doesn't affect the way the paint works. I've actually done my own tests over the years and diluted it to an almost watercolour glaze, and the paintings are 30 years old and it hasn't changed at all, because we've got the light coming from the right. So I'll use this glaze now to tint the dry paint underneath. I might need to go a little bit darker so it shows up. It's easier, it's better to glaze wetter, because you can add more paint than if you start off too dark. But I'm following the contours of the land, so there's going to be a bit there, and that'll go behind that tree, that one, and that. And we could have, maybe there's a tree off the picture that we can't see, coming in off that right side a little bit, and that makes everything feel a bit more solid. I'll just do some slightly darker bits on the pathway. Oh, and I'll show you some longer grass. You can't shut me up, can you now? I was supposed to have gone at 15:15. Right, let's quickly do a bit more quickly. I'm going to do some slightly lighter grass with my rigger brush, and I'm going in with a little bit more yellow, cadmium yellow and cerulean blue, and a lot of water. I'm just going to do a few grass tufts, so I'm making it really quite runny and dilute. Rolling my brush around. I'm just happy you're all happy watching. It means a lot to me, you know, so thank you. So roll the brush around, and then I can flick up. If I want to flick up in the foreground. If it's not runny enough, it won't work. It does need to be fluid. The consistency of melted ice cream. You know, when you're eating ice cream and maybe you're eating it from the tub and it starts to melt. Well, you want this to be the consistency where you won't put it back in the freezer. You might as well just eat the lot. I'm not going to go further back because I don't want long grass in the background. I want to use the flicks to give me depth in the picture. Oh, your folk art painting, how exciting. There we go. So this whole painting, it's A4 in size, was done with just these brushes, a rigger brush number 1, a 1/2 inch flat nylon, a 1 inch flat nylon, and a small painting knife, and titanium white, Mars black, cerulean blue, cadmium yellow, and burnt sienna. So that is, oh, I've got a few videos on Bluebell Woods on across our social channels, Sammy, so be sure to check them out. So thank you so much for your company. It's been wonderful. So thank you so much. Take care. I'll be back, as I say, I think it's the second or third Monday of June, and I'll be doing summer tree painting techniques in watercolour to around about 5:15 UK time. So thank you so much. Take care, and I'll see you all soon. Bye bye everyone. Bye bye.